Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. Disclaimer that you're going to hear in a few videos, the lower half of my face in the next few videos is going to be pretty swollen and my mouth may look slightly numbed, and that is because it is numbed and my face is swollen, but I had to record some content before I went on vacation, so please enjoy my swollen face. I'm absolutely fine now. Listen, I'm here to save you some money today. I want to talk about the worst foundations I have ever used, ever. Disclaimer, just because I didn't like them doesn't mean they're like completely don't what's the word, consider them. They just didn't work on me. My skin type is oily and dehydrated. I do consider my skin to be smooth-ish, apart from on this area here and around my nose I do have some slight texture. My skin is pretty balanced when I apply my makeup, but throughout the day it gets oilier and oilier and oilier. However, these tend to be foundations that I notice an instant like with on me. Another thing I do recommend if you're looking for foundation is to always watch more than one review. I know for a fact that some of these foundations I include in today's video, some people adore. So it's always good to get multiple opinions and see what people with different skin types are saying. But then I also do like to consider my experience as a makeup artist and how I would see these products working on other people of different skin types too. Okay, let's get straight into it. Please do consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up. This is going to encompass BB creams, foundations, all this kind of stuff, powders, creams, maybe not powders, liquids, whatever we have. So these are just the worst ones in general. Okay, let's start with the first one. This is going to be the Kosas BB Burst. This was like trying to apply gel, a thick gel to the face, right? It's almost as if, in terms of texture and applying it to the skin, it's almost as if it didn't want to grip to my skin. It's like, you know what? I'm just gonna hang around on the surface. I'm gonna see what I can do up here. At the same time, I'm gonna make you look super wet and super shiny. Now, listen, I've used BB creams that don't do this. One of my favorite, the Misha BB creams, love it, would use it all the time, even as an oily person. So for this BB cream to literally be like using wet water on my face, I was like, now what in the fuck is going on? This BB cream, I didn't even have to give it. I couldn't give it more time on my skin because it physically was not gripping to my skin. The texture as well was absolutely horrific. One of the worst textures I think I've ever used in the foundation. That's dramatic, but I think it might be true. Next up is the Glossier Stretch Fluid Foundation. Listen, I like their other stretch products, right? Like the stretch concealer, and in the little one I have in the little thing. Nice. Really like it if you have really natural skin, and even on my oily skin. This, however, I just didn't like the foundation in general. It felt like I couldn't really decide what kind of texture and what kind of formula it was. I was a bit confused. I was like, what is this trying to be? The color I got wrong in the video, but it wasn't so much the color I was angry at, because obviously that's a me issue, that's not a foundation issue. Now, I am super oily, right? Which I understand that not everything is made for my skin type. But what was wrong with this one, it was another case of it wasn't wanting to sit on my skin. As I mentioned earlier, I make sure that my skincare, my prep for foundation, my face is kind of balanced in terms of moisture, in terms of like dryness, whatever. So when I put a foundation on, I can see how it is. In my mind, I know I'm gonna have to touch up later with powder. I know I may have to reapply, and that's just my skin. But when a foundation goes onto my skin and sits like a mask, that kind of thing where you can scrape it with a fingernail and it will come off, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm sure that's not what anyone is looking for. Okay, so next up is the KVD Good Apple Serum Foundation. So not the balm, but although I didn't get on with the balm really, but the actual liquid serum foundation, they called it. This was strangely dry, right? Considering how oily I am. I mean, look how shiny I am, and I only put my foundation on like a few minutes ago. Reapplied it a few minutes ago. This was like almost like a powdery serum. It went on the skin, foundation-like, and the more it dried down, the worse it got. You could see texture on my skin. You could see the dryness. Throughout the day, throughout the wear test, I would move my skin like this, and then my skin looked crumbly and dry. It was horrific. I'm not a huge fan of KBD foundations in general. I'm not a huge fan of their products in general, to be honest with you, or their brand in general. But I feel like a lot of people made a mistake with this one because their balm foundation was so popular online, whether people liked it or not. I feel like people were more willing to try this one, and it kind of was a waste of money for some people. Okay, next up is a foundation that I desperately want to like, and I'm still trying. I'm gonna admit it, I'm still trying to make this work for me. The Danessa Merrick's Blurring Balm. When I saw this, I was like, this is it. Finally, they have made something that's gonna be perfect on oily skin, look incredible on oily skin. I was like, it's a new day. When I tried this, it was another situation where I was like, I cannot be dealing with trying to make this work, although I am very much still trying to make it work. I shouldn't have to go through this much effort to try and make this work for my skin. I wanted it to work for me. So I tried different skincare routines, different primers, different brushes, different ways of applying on and off camera. And it was just constantly always dry. Really, really, really dry. I even tried the, the clear one as a primer. Still dry, still kind of unmanageable on my skin, but it does look great on other people. Danessa Merrick's is a brand I do really trust. However, I just haven't had that luck and that success with their complexion products just yet. But it does speak to how much I trust that brand as to how much I keep trying to make it work for me. Another foundation that I really didn't get on with that went super viral for just how great it wasn't is the Jones Road What's the Foundation. The only way I know how to describe this foundation is it's kind of one you had to tiptoe around when it comes to application method, right? So I was trying to tap with fingers very delicately. I was trying to think, as a makeup artist brand, what would a makeup artist do to make this work? Then I was using brushes and I was using all this other stuff. A few things didn't work in this, right? The finish in general really gripped the texture on my skin, considering it was made for a maturer skin with perhaps a bit more skin texture. It just didn't sit on grip well. The finish was so, not glowy, but this oily natural that I looked terrible. I looked awful with this foundation. It's another one of those foundations that I can see working for a particular group of people, but another one where I also think, why should I have to work this hard to try and get a foundation to work for me? I kind of just want what I pay for. Okay, so I have one more left to do, and then I also want to give you a list of some foundations that I really do like. So last on this list is the Wayne Goss for Luxury Cream Foundation. This is a foundation that I was like, great, I'm gonna love it. It was very similar to the Danessa Merrick's foundation in terms of that it just didn't work for me. I got a few different shades, I got the puffs, I got the powder, I followed instructions on how to use it because I used it one time and I was like, okay, you know what, maybe it does need a little bit of work, maybe my application needs a little bit of work. And it's just one that I really couldn't get to work for me again. For me, it was texture, it was dryness. Again, perhaps maybe it was made for a maturer skin, but then I think, but would it be so dry? I think the price point was a little bit unfair too, for what it was. It just wasn't it just all round wasn't a great foundation for me. Okay, let's talk about some good foundations, right? Some great foundations that I find work for me and actually do work for a good bunch of people. The first one is L'Oreal True Match in their original version and their serum version. This I have used on many people. I will always tell a story of when I had a bride, and do you know what I did? I left my foundation palette at home from my kit, so I had to run to the nearest drugstore and buy a handful of foundations and use them. L'Oreal True Match was the only one there with a good range of shades. So that's the one I bought, and I was beyond surprised at the results. This was me when I was like, I'm never using drugstore, and this is pretty much what changed my mind, because this foundation actually gave, in my opinion, a better finish than what I was using in my kit. I had the Bobbi Brown at the time, the Bobbi Brown BBU palette, which is a big palette full of all the correctors and foundations, just because it's practical to take around and it has a good shade range. But I was so surprised that I actually bought more True Match to put in my kit, because I was like, this is stunning. It looked great on everyone. It was beautiful. A bit more luxury now, the Lisa Eldridge foundations, great shade range. These are really, what I find with the Lisa Eldridge complexion products, the more of a BB cream, what's called the skin tint, and a foundation. These are really customizable to a point where what you do with your skincare and how you prep will determine how your foundation is going to work for you. So if you want like a glowy look, then prep your skin as such and use a foundation. If you want a more matte look, prep your skin in a matte way. And I find that I can rely on these foundations as an oily person and the skin tint to last on my skin for a really, really good amount of time. The Lisa Eldridge foundations are one of my I trust you products that I will take to an event or something quite important for me, if that makes sense. Next is HAUS Labs Triclone Concealer. I adore this foundation. I just said concealer. I don't like the concealer, but I love a foundation. This is almost like a second skin. The way it sits on the skin is beautiful. It looks real. It looks like skin. You can build it up. It doesn't sit on texture. When you're having those days where you're like, you know what? My skin is dry today. I look dry. I feel crusty. This is a foundation to go for. Next up is Romand, the cushions, and I forgot the name. I love it that much. This is such a beautiful, beautiful foundation. You want your skin to have that wet glow without looking greasy or oily. This is the one. I love this so much that I was so worried that my shade was going to sell out because it's one of the deeper shades. I know it's not that deep. They could definitely improve in their shade range, but I bought 5 refills because I was like, I need this always and forever. And because it is slightly hydrating, I always use it on the outside edges of my face here. So from the cheeks out, so I have that really nice glow. And then I apply another foundation on my T-zone, which I'm going to tell you about. It's the last one. Just so I have that really nice balance of my skin being oily, a little bit dehydrated here. I want that nice balance of, you know what? My skin is controlled in the middle, but I have a really nice shine, a really nice glow to my skin on the edges. Of course, we can't talk about good foundations without talking about the TIRTIR cushion foundations. I love these. Full disclosure, I did a sponsorship with them recently, but you have probably seen me talk about them a lot because I like them, even when I'm not being sponsored. That's how it should be. I just love them. I think they're incredible. I think they're doing an incredible job, and I just love the actual foundations themselves. I do wish there was an easier way to pick your shade for you online because it's not as easy visually doing it, but their foundations are beautiful. Just a heads up, they have some new ones, but you're not going to be the same shade in all of them, just so you know. But if you want something that's balanced, that has a good coverage, but you don't need to use too much off, but still get that coverage, the TIRTIR cushions are the ones to go for. Last but not least, the foundation I was talking about that I use in my T-zone and when I want that glow on my cheeks is the Sculpted by AIMEE Satin Silk Longwear Foundation. This really is Longwear foundation. This is beautiful. I wore this to weddings. I've worn it to events. I've worn it on days where I'm like, you know what? I don't want to touch my face later on. A little bit, I get a bit shiny, of course, but it's stunning. It really smooths out the appearance of my nose pores, which is another thing I really like. I do have quite a porous nose. You can even see on the end I have like a giant pore there. That's just always there. But it really helps smooth it out and kind of like refine that texture. But it does last a really long time. A friend in Florida swears by this brand in general, out in that humidity, out in that sun, out in that like sweat, and I believe it. And this is one I'll be taking to Florida with me in October also. Such a great brand. Their concealer is beautiful. Also, they also do some amazing cream blushes. So yes, that is absolutely one to check out. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Let me know your best and worst foundations down below in the comments. I can't wait to check those out, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.